Alright, here we go. Anubis. And the VIP included. Where I've been, I haven't been feeling too well, so that's why I kind of took a break with Apex Legends. Playing some games, watching some stuff. The One Piece live action was actually really good. Took a break, and now I'm back. Tried recording this already. Recording it, but my microphone didn't get captured for some reason, but I'm pretty sure it'll work this time. Anyway, so Anubis, long story short, Monster Cat was a big inspiration of mine when I was a kid, like 13, 14, which is, they basically got me into music, especially the song One for All for One, or vice versa, by Versa Hell and Virtual Riot. And I was trying to imitate a song I heard while I was on a truck trip by them called The Munster by Scandal. And I was like, you know what, let me try one last time for the 1,000,000th, quadrillionth time to submit to them, you know, make a song that they'd want to hear. And I did it, and they still rejected me. So honestly, I'm pretty much done submitting the labels for a long time, especially Monster Cat. As my friend said, they've gone down the toilet. It's pretty sad though, because before they used to be one big family, and yeah. And Disciple kind of entered that sort of territory. I think they're still doing good. Anyway, the point is, I made the song, trying to imitate something that they want to hear, but also something that I'd like to make, and Egyptian style, because I love Egyptian scales and Egyptian stuff. Especially that one track by Skrillex, Kyoto. I was trying to see if I could make like a lead that was sort of like bouncy and like... Anyway, let's see. So I try to make that sort of thing, and I didn't try to make have a generic like drop. I try to make it unique, so just kind of repeating itself, kind of like a sort of like, guess like an OST or something, like a theme. That's kind of my thing for some reason. So I started it with like a sweeping up motion, like a sweep. A bunch of sweeps actually, a shit ton of sweeps from KSHMR classic pack. Love it. Some effects here. Oh, that's just like the recorded part of the song where I could actually loop it and stuff, so everything else gets muted, and that's the only thing that you can hear, so you can like loop it and reverse it, you know. Anyway, so I started it off silently actually with like a sweep, and then it stops for dramatic effect, and then it kicks in. So we got like a hardstyle kick from KSHMR, which I've cut the bass on. Love some of that low mid though, which is also being sidechained as well. I believe I'm using automation sidechain, which I used to use a lot in back of my FL Studio days. Yeah, there it is. Still solid, very solid, but you know, it's kind of tedious to fucking have to copy paste on every single channel. But I forgot to do the little fade out thing, which I learned from Deadmau5 actually in a live stream. He popped into my a live stream in 2018, and he said, you know, in LFO tool, you can literally just do this and fade it out. And it was like, oh my god, Deadmau5 Salman. He's like, okay, lol. Anyway, so kick, KSHMR, obviously it's all KSHMR. I turned its like frequency down a little bit by like 16 hertz to make it more bassy, because as you can hear, it's not as bassy as when I do this. Raise the bass a little bit. I know, forbidden, it's a sin. They'll fucking bite me. Anyway, I lowered the 1000 hertz area, you know, like the ka. Actually, no, it's like 2000. Oh, whatever. Anyway, it kicks in with a little bit of like a white noise. That's got a lot of bass cut. I could have added way more bass cut, actually. I don't know why I didn't, but I kind of like delayed it a little bit. So, you know, like I explained in the last one, like this, and made it very quiet, just to give it a bit of dimension to the kick. Yeah, and then it starts, and I got like a bass going on, I think. Oh no, that's okay, hardstyle, and then it just kind of repeats. And then the double kick thing that I think Seamless R said it was his thing, like 2014. He said, don't take it, don't take my thing. The double kick thing. I forgot that, I keep taking it. Anyway, and then I added a bunch of these cool effects that I've recorded, I think, throughout the years. Like they're cool little bassy artifacts from Serum. And they're just kind of there to highlight like key little bits in the song. Thus, my name, Growl Bits. There's no growls though, unfortunately. Just yoinks. But growls because of the Virtual Riot growls, like I already explained. But anyway, because I grew up with that kind of shit. This background bass, which is like, I don't really need to explain Big Yoink. You guys have already seen it a million times. But yeah, just like a little saw on it. Delay, but don't worry, everything's got its bass cut off. Anything that's wet, like reverb or delay. And then you just got this bass with the vocoder turned on, I'm pretty sure. Yeah, on like modulator and all that stuff to make it very tubey. That's like a Reese-Mass monster, you know, FMing, this FMing from a higher octave, and this getting its octave modulated, I think. Is it? Oh, that modulates it. I never actually put that to use. Yeah, I never did. Oscillator B is FMing from a very low octave square, thus making this weird little like you know, like phone ringing kind of sound. how? I guess I do. Yeah, I know. I never automated it. I never fucking. Never, but they could have added some cool like movement. But I guess I never used it for some reason. Yeah, and they just like regular old hats and claps and, you know. Kind of just added the clap here around the ending area to kind of emphasize that some big's coming, I guess. And a little stop. And like I said, I recorded this area, which I kind of should have removed everything else here and swept it up a little bit more aggressively. Oh, this is like a bunch of samples that I put together and then I messed with their like a panning, and then I rendered it out to like its own sample. Alright, let me turn that up. Anyway, and then just this weird like that right there. I could have turned the macro up for that. It would have sounded way cooler. And of course, the lead. So before I get into the lead, I should mention I add this as like a yeah, like kind of in the background, a lot of sweeps and shit. The bass, I should have added a bit more like release on that. There, I fixed it now. That's imitating like the basses. Now the lead itself, having a little bit of reverb that's kind of being automated, Panda Eye style, like this, just. So like going from 0 to 100, you know, up and down, so like down, up, down, up. LFO, the LFO rate is also being modulated here when it switches up, so it goes to a dotted eighth. Basic EQ, cutting the bass, raising the mids because that's where instruments should be, lowering the aggressive like hissy area, and raising some highs. So it's basically this Odd Future lead that I had from my old CMD remix of Odd Future, My Hero Academia, and I kind of messed with it and panned it out. I mean, kind of like edited some things and FM'd oscillator B to the higher octave sine wave, and there you go. And you got this, and I added some cool little effects, and yeah. And when I'm automating the LFO, I'm automating this. I don't know what this is automating. Oh yeah, the wave, the position. Because like, you know, I don't want this to be too aggressive. Maybe I should have been a little bit more lenient on this though. That's fine. Oh yeah, so the vocal is also, of course, from KSHMR. Wow, gee, who could have wondered? Who would have fucking guessed that? Crash there, delayed. Where's the vocal? Let me show you. Hold on. Like Blaze sets and whatever. Okay, so the vocal is a combination of the mono version of the vocal with a shit ton of effects. Reduce ambient. This is forfeit. Doesn't really matter. Some echo, which is, well, self-explanatory. Redux to make it sound like bit crushy, you know, like vintage. OST OTT with nothing, with like no editing. Overdrive. Not too much of that though, and then a compressor to just kind of compress it all out and even it out. And it's basically the same effect, same editing on the EQ that I did for the lead. And the wide version is the same thing, but with like less distortion, I think. That's like the same shit, but like I messed with the EQ, I changed it up. Right. Okay. So it doesn't phase or like mess with the main, you know, like fundamental frequencies of the monovocal, and together, they form this whole thing. Oh, of course, it's got delay. And I broke it down here, but I added actually like some hats and shit and drums to like carry through. Because I usually, when I do break it down, I just kind of mute everything, which is not the best. You know, all the energy fucking dies. Like this. You know? It's just not good. But nonetheless, it rises up. And it stops with a little bit of delay, so, you know, the silence isn't completely, you know, 100% silent, because or else it would be a weird little effect where like your eyes even start to water as well. Like look it up. I don't know what it's called, but it's like when your sound goes from being on and off. You know, it's like Anyway, and then it drops, and the drop is basically just the verse right here. That's just. But with like the vocal being 100% prominent now, no low pass, and yeah. And I hope I reverted expectations, because I'm guessing most people would guess it was gonna be like either trap or like bass house or something. But no, it's just you know, it's just house or electro, whatever you want to call it. And then like it switches to the 8th dotted here as it builds up. Again, stealing Seamless's double kick, and then. This part, actually, funny story about the hardstyle version. I just made a separate lead, like to basically repeat it and have the same shit, but like with a different lead. But then I'm like, you know what? This sounds like hardstyle. You know, it sounds like hardstyle. I edited this a little bit to make it sound more like that, and then I'm like, you know what? What if I just raise the BPM to 150 and add a root kick, which should be right here? Yeah, like a root kick. In key, mess with the stereo with a little bit here, and cut the bass, leave a low mid, kick on top of it, noise, and boom, you got yourself hardstyle, and it actually turned out to be a nice switch up. Oh, and of course I softened up, I tightened up the sidechain to basically almost be non-existent for the hardstyle, because if it wasn't, it'd be a little weird. Be too much sidechain, you know, to make it sound natural. And I added this little Indian vocal. And I believe the second lead is just like a saw wave, really. A little lead I got from Spire. That's backing it up. Yeah, that's about it, I think. That pretty much covers the whole track. And it just keeps going and going. Add some claps, like build it up, you know. Oh, and like the sub bass in the breakdowns going meow meow. Yeah. And messing with its pitch and volume to kind of just carry things through as well. And I softened up the kick at the end, because I don't know why I did that, but I think it's just because I wanted it to sound like real hardstyle, which has like aggressive yet like kind of like not as clicky kicks. And yeah, and then it just kind of ends with a little tune at the end, like doo-doo-doo-doo. Boom. And then of course, yeah, that's about it. So I made sure everything wasn't clipping. Never mind, scratch that. Everything is absolutely clipping, but even so, I rendered everything out to samples. To stems, and I opened up a new set, and in that new set I cleaned it up and added mastering, which I'm not going to show you because it doesn't really matter, because I mean you don't really need to copy a mastering chain, because your song is always going to be different no matter what, you know. Not every song is going to have the same mastering chain. But yeah, it's just boring mixing and mastering stuff. Anyway, onto the VIP. Not much has changed. But what did change was the intro is actually no longer a smooth intro. It's more like just the vocal comes in with beat repeat. And it just instantly the breakdown. And then it stops with the come on. Of course, from KSHMR as well. And then I basically just reversed the lead, the structure, the progression of the lead. And I messed with it a little bit, and it turned out to be a kind of different melody. And I actually decided to carry through with that throughout instead of changing it up, at least for a solid like 4 repetitions here. And then I'm like, okay, I'm gonna do the classic progression that I always do, even though I try to innovate. It sounds like na da 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 da. And I have that cool like Indian wherever it is. I love Indian vocals, are beautiful. Where is it actually? Oh yeah, it's right here, I think. Yeah. And it just breaks down, but this time I don't mess with the BPM at all. Of course, you got the sub bass going meow meow meow. I think what really makes this song in its original just sound so full is just the amount of fucking sweeps I had, because without it, it's just, you know, these subtle little like white sweepy effects in the background really go a long way, you know, to fill in the emptiness. Yeah, so I added Beerus from Dragon Ball, because when I think of Anubis, I just kind of think of him, even though he's a cat, but technically, I mean, I don't know. You know what I mean. Anyway, so just kind of builds up and stops with a lot of reverb to like wash it out. And then Beerus comes in. Where's Beerus?
Don't try to understand me.
Yep, with a little reverse effect for him, and which is just recording the very beginning of the vocal, and I render that out with 100% reverb and reverse it. But yeah, so for Beerus, I just reduced the ambience a little bit. I frequency shifted him a little bit to have like that cool like excision razor fist sound, which I did a tutorial on ages ago. And then I added a sweeping reverb, I think. Oh yeah, but that's not for this part. That's for like over here, I think. Yeah. Anyway. I added a Haas effect, which activates on this part where he is on top of the drum line, actually. Add some OTT, nothing on that either. Frequency split to like make sure that this is mono, everything else is wide. And I messed with the EQ, nothing too crazy. And that's about it.
Don't try to understand me. You have no idea.
And then for this part, I didn't give him sidechain, and everything else is kind of like in his area, which is like around here, I'm pretty sure. Like, hold on, right here. I made everything else lower in that area so we can hear Beerus better. And anyway, I added the come on again, but this time he's like glitching or some shit. I'm like, argh. And yeah, so for the basses, that's why this is the perfect example of why it should be called yoink bits, but it just doesn't roll off the tongue. Is that there's this bass, which is the same like effect of like FMing from a higher octave oscillator, which is FMing from a way lower octave oscillator, which makes this phone riggy sound. And EQ, delay for a little bit of width there, distortion of course, reverb filter, multi-back compressor, and a little bit of a flanger going on here, being automated. And of course I'm automating the rhythm, I mean the LFO rate. And this part's my favorite bass that I've made so far throughout my entire fucking career. It sounds like me when I had COVID. So yeah, and it's just like but it's basically the same thing with like more basic shapes and the format filter, and that's about it actually. Then I mashed them up together, giving each other space though. And yeah, I don't know if I went in depth enough. I'm not really sure if you guys want me to go through every single tiny detail, but I mean, I kind of just leave it there for you guys to see. But yeah, in general, that's pretty much it, you know? That's the Anubis song and the VIP, and I just basically did the same thing. I exported it and, you know, mastered it and everything like that. And hell, you know, just to throw you guys a bone, I'll show you guys the mastering, but it's not really necessary. Anubis mix and master, there it is. They made everything, of course, quiet. Make sure that they reach at least -3 dB to reach that peak RMS of like -6, which is extremely loud, but still. And yeah, so I just frequency split, made this mono. I didn't really. No, I raised the width for this a little bit, and for this pressed. It's just a little. If the needle's moving, like as soon as the needle starts moving, which that's not even moving now. There we go. I raised it by like 5, if it's like hitting -6. I just raised the bands a little bit. Same thing for this. and a little saturator on soft sign. The weirdly fine EQ, just very, you know, very slight adjustments here. More mid-end. Low mid-end, I mean. A little bit, raising the width a little bit, and that's about it, you know. Limiter on transparent. I use FabFilter Pro L2 because I get to see the RMS. And we're hitting around -8, which is ideal because -6 is like really loud, but like way too loud. But RMS is basically root mean squared, where it's like instead of peak volume, the longer things go on for, the louder they sound. But like even if something is louder, like if something is like -3 dB, but it just goes it's just continuous, it'll sound louder than like a click that's like positive 12 dB. It's like you won't even notice that it's louder, you know. That's what root mean squared is, RMS, and you want it to either be around -8. -10 is a little too loud. -6 is way too loud. -8 is great, but it still just sounds quiet. That's a weird thing. You don't want it to go to -6, but without it going to -6, you won't compete with like other tracks that are like even louder on Spotify. But in reality, like you look at those tracks that are like even louder, but they're at like -8. I don't know. Dynamics are weird. They're unpredictable. It's like quantum mechanics. So just don't even worry about it. Just get it in this range, you know. And to do that, just make sure that you have lots of headroom. And if you want, if you're brave enough to even touch this thing that I'm about to do, you can compress the RMS, but I don't even want to do that. So I hope you guys enjoyed this tutorial. If you did, make sure to absolutely annihilate the like button, and subscribe if you want to see more, and it helps the channel grow. And I will see you guys next time. Bye bye.